After Vergon buried their nukes, the leaders of the 12 colonies promised we would never see war of that scale again. Peace would reign in our lifetime, and the lifetimes of our children. They could not have predicted the Cylon Rebellion less than 30 years later. The worst conflict in colonial history, and we are at a stalemate. No foothold gained that isn't lost again within weeks. The Jupiter Project was supposed to be our ace in the hole, the largest, most powerful battle stars ever created. Each of the 12 colonies were promised one, in return for signing the Articles of Colonization. The first, Galactica, was Caprica's crowning glory. It went missing 2 weeks after deployment. Athena, the 5th ship to be completed, belongs to Pycon. We were days away from delivering it when we heard the news. Pycon's capital cities were devastated by Cylon assault fleets. Among them, our own Colonial fleet headquarters. There was no chance to intervene. Command of Colonial fleet has fallen to Rear Admiral Kane. Our mobile shipyard, Daedalus, has become the ad hoc fleet headquarters. As Kane's XO aboard Daedalus, you have been promoted to Operations Commander of the entire Colonial fleet. Kane intends immediate retaliation for the attack on Pycon. The war room awaits your arrival, Commander.
Well, hello there, guys, and welcome to our stream here of Battlestar Galactica Deadlock. My name is Kevin Buster. Some of you know me as Agrippa Maxentius. I'm here with Ian, and we're going to hopefully show you quite an interesting part here of the game itself, and that is essentially the campaign structure. How's it going, Ian?
Hi, guys. Yeah, my name's Ian McNeil. I'm the Development Director here at Slytherin, and we're going to be showing you a bit about the campaign game and how it all fits together. And also with us on the stream in the chat channel we have Anthony Sweet, who is the designer and lore guru that will be answering any of the tricky questions that we can't deal with. So sit back and relax and enjoy the show.
Absolutely. So I think just the structure of the campaign itself, Ian, I guess we were discussing earlier that there are some similarities to other games in terms of the randomized missions, things like this. In other words, you don't have to follow a structured campaign necessarily if you want to veer off and maybe fight a Cylon fleet or deal with some rebellious humans, as we discussed. You can certainly do that as well. Could you talk more about that?
Sure. What we're looking at here is the campaign map. So you can see it's a quaternary star system. There are 4 stars, each with planets orbiting them, and you are the Daedalus here is in the bottom left. That's your main fleet. That's where all your structures will be built from. I think we're just loading up a different map so we can see a bit further into the campaign. So you will be controlling your fleets on the map here. This here is the Daedalus is your main shipbuilding. It's the key ship in your entire fleet. It's the one that builds everything. If you lose it, the campaign is over because you cannot build any more ships. We have a number of other ships in the fleet there, various different classes. So at the campaign layer, you'll be controlling your fleet. You'll be building new ships. You'll be researching new designs, recruiting officers. The structure, if you're familiar with XCOM, there's some similarities to the structure of an XCOM game. So you have a story that's progressing that you have to travel through. There's 14 chapters in the story that progress through the campaign, but throughout that there are also a lot of kind of generated missions that you can step into or not and play as you wish. So what we're going to do is we're going to have a quick look now at some of the different aspects on the campaign layer.
Absolutely.
So if you can bring up the resources, so the resource system, there you can see in the center of the screen you've got some Tilium. Here we go, we're on the economy screen here. This gives a list of the different planets. So the Quorum has 12 planets in it, and these are the colonial planets. And you have to keep these friendly to keep them funding the war effort against the Cylons. And it's not as easy as it sounds, because there are a lot of them that are concerned or unstable, especially some of the planets like Sagittarium.
Yes.
There are issues you'll have to deal with through the story to keep them on side. And if you can't keep these planets friendly, you can see the relationship levels there, then you will start to lose funding, and eventually they could defect and leave your side and stop funding the war effort. And if enough of them leave, then you'll have no funding left, and pretty much it will be game over.
And I think we were actually talking with Anthony earlier, Ian, and he had mentioned the Sagittarian Democratic Union was one of those sort of groups that essentially decided to leave the Quorum of 12. And I think we both found it quite interesting that could occur. It's kind of terrifying, really.
Yes, but let's not tell people too much about the story for now. We're going to give away our secrets.
Fair enough. All right, where should we head now? Why don't we show everybody our officers? Could we do that?
Yeah, let's jump into the officers. So the resources in the game are Tilium, which are used to purchase new ships, and you have requisition points. Both of these are earned by completing missions and various events and production that you have throughout the game. Here we're looking at the officer recruitment screen. Try again. And we have 2 officers available to recruit, and they have different skills. If we select one of those guys, you can see in the middle there we have 3 sets of skills. You've got command skills, fleet skills, and then their captain specific skills. So some of these skills are shared, and they're just about boosting the general performance of your fleet or the size of your fleet. So that the maximum number of ships a fleet can control is limited by your commanders. So as your commanders improve, you'll get larger fleets and larger battles. And they also have specific skills here. 50% elevation control. That's the specific skill for this this officer, and each officer will have his own set of specific skills, and you can upgrade them as you level them up and they gain experience.
So we can obviously see here, for instance, Antonio Black. He's got that spatial awareness, which gives him the 50% elevation control on the flagship. And then, of course, we've got Lieutenant Colonel Julie Darren. In her case, she's got plus 10 XP gains. So she's going to level up a little bit faster than Antonio Black would, assuming that she fights just as well as he does, of course.
So somebody's asking in the stream, officers are limited to 1 fleet. So each fleet can have 1 officer in it. Unless Anthony corrects me, as I understand it. Oh, my power's going on the laptop. That's not good. Hang on a sec, sorry. Okay, I think we're good. As I was saying, yes, so one officer per fleet, and they're linked to the flagship of that fleet, which will be the strongest ship in that fleet. So if that ship is destroyed, then the officer will die. So you have to try and keep the guy alive, and he gives bonuses to the ship that he's on. So the other part, have a quick look at now, is the blueprints.
Absolutely.
So the blueprints are a kind of research mechanic. So again, you're using requisition points to unlock new blueprints that will be opened up to you as you progress through the campaign. And these blueprints affect things from new ship designs. That's the most exciting part. So you can see that we have a battle star available now. That's the smaller battle star, the Artemis. But later on, you'll have the big Jupiter battle stars opening up, and you can unlock them. You can also research different types of munition. So here we have torpedoes. They're an unguided munition. PCM, which is
this is the projectile countermeasure, and what it does is it essentially destroys enemy missiles if placed correctly, of course. And then this is locked. We don't want you guys to see this, but you'll find out eventually. put it that way.
And there's also ship types you can research as well, so you get
Absolutely.
upgrades to the Vipers and new things like that. And when you're actually deploying your fleets before battle, you'll make the decision about which of these munitions or which of these ships to take into the battle. So before each battle, you can configure your actual force and make modifications to suit whatever tactics you want to use. So that gives you an overview of the research system. We've looked at officers, so let's have a look at the Daedalus and the building of ships and how you would go about doing that.
Absolutely. So we've got the Daedalus here, of course. Outside, we're going to click on the Build Ships button, and I'll let you explain to them the incredible, very cool Artemis Battlestar here. I guess one of the more expensive ones, but of course there are stronger Battlestars than just the Artemis. This is actually the most common of Battlestars in the fleet, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, so what we've got here is the ship construction screen. So on the left we have the different types of ship that are available to us currently. The green number there is the fleet points. So this determines how many fleet points it contributes, and that's related to fleet size. So a normal fleet without a commander can have up to 2,000 points, and as your commanders level up, your fleets will get bigger and bigger. So to control a fleet with large battle stars, you'll need to have an experienced commander, or you're going to struggle to get the ships fitting into that fleet. There's also a construction cost to the fleets, which you've got down the bottom, so that's quite expensive, 800 Tillium and 4 turns to build. And then there's a whole bunch of stats about the ships, their armor levels in various different directions, hull points, what munitions they've got equipped, how many squadrons they've got on board, and then some general information about its radius range, how fast it moves, its turn rate. So all the different ships have different strengths and weaknesses, and they also have different armaments and different firing facings. For example, if you jump to the Manticore, at the bottom of your list, the Manticore has a front gun and a rear gun, but no side guns. So it either needs to engage directly ahead or when running away from its opponents. Whereas the Adamant is completely opposite. It has almost no front and rear, but has a lot of side-facing guns, so it has to face up for broadsides. And so you need to learn the abilities of your different ships and make sure you're making use of that when you get to battle, because there really are significant strengths and weaknesses. And until you start to master that, you'll find it gets a lot easier once you've worked out how to use your ships. So that gives an idea of how the recruitment process works. What we're going to do now quickly is just show how you move your fleets around the map. So
Absolutely.
It's all very, very simple. We just pick a destination we want to jump to, and the way that the transport works in the universe is that you can just jump. You do faster than light jump, and you jump almost instantaneously to your destination. But because the Cylons have corrupted the satellites, your navigation systems have been compromised, and so it's dangerous for you to jump more than relatively short distances in one go. So you have to do these interim jumps to avoid jumping into an object. So rather than being able to jump from one side of the system to completely the other, you have to do these little smaller steps. So it gives a bit more strategy to the game as well. And your drives have to recharge as well, so you have to spend Tillium if you want to keep jumping turn after turn, which is what we're seeing here. It's a 200 Tillium penalty for jumping 2 turns in a row, and that depends on the size of your fleet and various other factors. So there's a lot of different things weighing up as to whether you should be jumping, where you should be jumping, when you should be jumping. The Cylons are trying to break the morale of your planets, and one of the jobs you have to do is trying to fend the Cylon attacks off from the various planets in your in the systems, and you can have multiple fleets to do that. You might decide you want to keep one strong fleet or multiple smaller fleets, or it's an open-ended campaign, so it's up to you to decide how best to deal with the Cylon threat. And then there are key missions which are marked on the map with these markers. So there's 2 key missions at the moment. At the moment in the map we're looking at here, there are no Cylon fleets wandering. There's just 2 kind of the story missions that we need to progress through. So that's how that all works. Just going to, next thing we're going to do is Kerry's going to jump into a battle and start to show off a little bit of that. And I'm going to check the chat to see if there's anything I've missed there.
Absolutely. And so, guys, if you take a look here, you just saw this Cylon fleet actually pop up. So when you see these two icons, the one that I'm mousing over now and the two, these are, of course, as Ian mentioned, story missions. But we also have these missions where we can actually take out Cylon fleets, not only improving our own skills, but also making sure that the people in these colonies know that we're protecting them, and, of course, sort of improving our political status here. So I'm going to jump in here to the Operation Gemini battle. Wish us luck. We're going to need it. So I guess the initial part of the battle here, guys, you can set your ships up however you want. That not only in terms of the location of your ship, but also in terms of the altitude of the actual ship itself. I think right now we're going to go for a sort of strong setup here in the front with some support ships behind our battle stars. And I am actually going to keep my manticores here on the flank. What can I say? I enjoy flanking. And so Anthony actually mentioned this is a sort of a resource mission. And let's go ahead and say we're done and get started on the mission, guys.
So at that point there as well, one of the things you can do is that's where you configure your ships before the mission. So that was where you would choose your loadout if you wanted to switch in torpedoes or change which type of Vipers or ships you were bringing in.
Yeah, absolutely. And we were actually looking at some ships earlier that sort of mess because the Cylons are quite good at hacking your systems, and they can sort of assist you, one of the kinds of missiles you can use in stopping that hacking process. Of course, the Cylons are determined, and it is quite difficult to stop any sort of Cylon hacking. Now, I think for this, I'm going to go ahead and go straight into battle. Obviously, I expected the enemy to come from the front, and one thing about this game is that, you know, the Cylons or the enemy you're facing could really be coming from anywhere. You only find out, as far as I know, unless Anthony knows better on this, you essentially only know where the Cylons are coming from when the battle begins. In this case, it sort of appeared over here to the west, and I guess we're going to see what we can do. So let's move these guys, but I'm going to be careful. I don't want to crash, so I think we're going to change altitudes here.
Let's give a little bit of an intro to the basic system here. So
absolutely,
what we're looking at is this is the battle part of the game. So the campaign layer is where it's all your high-level decisions, but now we're into the core of the game. This is the meat of it, and it's a WeGo system. So what we mean by WeGo is that you enter your orders, and then the orders are executed simultaneously with the enemy. So this is the same for multiplayer as well. So two players will enter their orders at the same time, and then when the resolve turn or end turn button is clicked, that's when all the real-time action kicks off. And what we have here is the little shadows of the ships are the planned routes they're going to take. There's various controls you have over the fleet, so you can control the angle they face. If you grab one of those ships, Kevin, you can show how that silhouette can be dragged around.
Absolutely.
It's limited in its ability to turn based on its basic stats. So what you notice is something like a Manticore is far more maneuverable than a Battlestar, and the big Battlestars are even less maneuverable than the small ones. There's other things you can do as well. You can boost the engines. So if you select the boost engine option on your Battlestar there, it gets you to go faster, but significantly reduces your ability to maneuver and turn. So that's something you might want to use if you're trying to catch up or get the guys into action quickly. There's other settings you have about your I've forgotten the name for it. The posture. That's the word.
Yes. And I guess you can go on a highly offensive posture, but you're going to sacrifice some of your defense, or you can go on a highly defensive posture and sacrifice a little bit of your offense. I seem to really like attacking, so I'm going to take a risk here and go full attack with this particular Battlestar here.
If you right-click and go into the posture, you can get a bit more information about what that actually does. So if you right-click on the unit, go into its posture settings, it'll give you more information about what changing that posture does. So as you're dragging that bar up and down to set whether it's offensive or defensive, you can see the different stats changing. So on an offensive posture, your engineering is reduced, which means that you're taking increased damage from enemy shots as they come in. Your Marines are less effective. Your firewall against enemy hacking will be less effective. Various other things, navigation, but obviously your turret range and accuracy is significantly boosted. So if your ship is not under threat and it's got the chance to do some damage, it could be very effective to really boost your offensive abilities. And if you have a ship that's heavily under attack, it may well be worth pushing the defensive numbers up. So you'll do reduced damage, but you'll survive much longer, especially if you're waiting for some reinforcements to arrive.
Absolutely. Okay, so I think I guess another thing to mention would be the different abilities on the actual ship itself. I don't think we're going to use them right this second, but once we approach the Cylon fleet and get some ships in range, I think Ian can tell you more about the guided missiles, these sort of additions to each ship, but let's go ahead and get started, guys.
So now we've ended the first turn and we're into the real-time execution part. We're a little bit too far away from the enemy for too much to be happening at this point. We're doing the pre-battle maneuvers effectively. One thing we do want to watch out for is that we don't crash into ourselves. So you will get some warnings in advance if your system thinks you're predicting a crash. There we go, yeah.
Yep. So it would sort of show up red, and this means both of these ships are likely going to crash into each other. We definitely don't want that happening. It is.
Crashes are pretty much fatal, and once you get into the thick of the action, it can be a bit tricky because it's not just your ships you're trying to avoid, it's the enemy ships as well. So it is definitely possible to end up losing ships from accidental impacts or even deliberate impacts from the enemy. They may try and collide with you, or you may try and collide with them.
Now, Ian, I'm taking a look here. We're getting close to this fleet. Should we go ahead and launch Vipers, or do we want to wait until we're in range with these guys?
I think it's probably safe now to launch some Vipers.
Let's do it.
So, yep.
So we can go into squadrons here. Of course, we can launch each Viper squadron separately, or we could just launch all squadrons at once. I think for this battle, we don't know what we're facing. Let's launch them all at once.
So each of the battle stars has got 2 squadrons on board. The Adamants, if we've got any Adamants, they should have a squadron on board as well.
Yes, we do. One squadron. Yep.
So that gives us 5 squadrons. That's a... Oh, we've got another one there. So that's 6 squadrons of Vipers. That's an awful lot of Vipers. So that's pretty effective. So the Vipers are pretty tough to hit unless you've got enemy fighters defending. So they can be pretty effective. And again, the enemy fighters, raiders coming in, you want to make sure you've got some fighter protection to ward them off. Although the big battle stars also have flak. So I've lost track. Does the Artemis have flak or not? I can't remember.
I believe the Artemis has flak. Yes.
Yeah. So what you can do with the if you turn the flak on, we'll turn it off in a minute because we don't want to blow ourselves up. But you can push the flak to fire on the left or right hand side, and that throws out an enormous number of projectiles that will have a good chance of destroying any incoming missiles and any fighters in that area. But it will also damage any friendly troops, so you have to be very careful you don't catch yourself in your own friendly fire.
I guess another thing here, just in terms of, I think I'm going to go ahead and start firing in because I can see the enemy on the horizon, and I'm a little worried. I want to take these guys out fast.
Let's have a quick look at the enemy ships and tell people a little bit about them. So what we've got here, right? A Talon is a carrier. They do have some side guns. They've got pretty weak frontal and rear guns, but they've got a fair few guns on the side. But their main role is they carry raiders or some other type of Cylon fighter class. The other ship there we have is a Nemesis. A Nemesis is relatively weak, but Nemesis have the hacking ability. These guys can be a real pain. So hacking is an important part of the combat mechanics. If these guys get close enough, they will start to hack your ships, and if the firewall goes down, they can completely disarm your ship, turn it offline, and it's basically sitting there, just a sitting duck. So you have to be very careful that you don't let the hacking ships get too close to you. And if it does, you can boost your defenses by changing your posture, reinforcing the firewalls, or you can there are some ships you can launch for countermeasures. There's the what's the name of one of the fighters you can produce can help in the countermeasures, and Anthony will know the name, but I've forgotten the name of it. And there is also the tried and tested route of just blowing the Nemesis out of the sky.
That's my favorite, is that one right there. I enjoy that one. So of course,
sorry, go for it. So we've got some missiles here.
Missiles, and you mentioned something about the hacking abilities here, of course, of the Nemesis class. So I think it would probably be in our best interest to target them. The Talons look a little bigger and a little bulkier and, quite frankly, scarier, but I'd rather deal with a big ship than deal with hacking because, I've played this game before, and when I get hacked, I run into some problems. So why don't we go ahead and fire off some missiles?
Yep, go for it.
And of course, you know, generally speaking, it does depend. You're not going to be destroying these ships with one barrage of missiles. So you may want to go ahead and fire 2 barrages of missiles at certain ships. There is a cooldown phase for the missiles themselves. So let's say I fire some missiles. I'm going to have to wait a couple of turns to get those back. And that's something to watch out for. There are even more advanced weapons. We're probably not going to discuss them right now. We'll let you guys find out. But for now, we're going to target these ships with our missiles and just basically fire everything we have. If we want, we can also order our Vipers to start attacking these guys head on. But I'm not entirely sure I want to do that, especially since I'm not sure what sort of ships they're going to send towards us. And many of the ships that they could send to attack us are capable of hacking. So I think for now I'm going to keep the Vipers back just to watch the enemy. And just to give an example here, well, we're going to go ahead and fire. Here we go, guys.
So the action started now. Missiles are launching. Oh, I think we left the flak on, and I think you're blowing your own Vipers out of the air.
We are shooting our own Vipers. You know what? That's what they get for joining the Colonial fleet. Shame on them.
Oops. Cancel flag. Cancel flag.
So we canceled the flag. Sorry about that.
How many did we lose?
I think we lost.
Oh,
8. Good old 8. Actually, this was 47, far more than 8.
Yeah, well, we've lost 7 of our 10 Vipers in that squadron.
Commander Agrippa at your service. Here we go. All right, so as you guys can see here, this sort of shows us that we're being hacked. A sort of number appears over your ship. So our Manticore class ship here and our Adamant are both being hacked. This is exactly what I was worried about. And Ian, if you want to tell them a bit more about how serious hacking is.
If you can select the ship that's being hacked, it'll give us some information about the firewall strength. So, yeah, so see at the bottom there, you've got the firewall being displayed. So the firewall will tick down. The longer the ship is being hacked, and the more ships hacking it, the quicker that will tick down. Your posture settings can reduce the rate at which that drops down, but ultimately you'll need to do something to stop these hacking. And one of the options is just to run away. So the hacking has a limited range. Okay. So one of the other ways of avoiding it is just to get out of range or to force them to disengage. So chase them off with somebody else. So there's various different tactics you can use to avoid the hacking. What we should do is have a quick look at our ships to check their capabilities. So we mentioned it a little bit earlier, but if you bring up the turrets on the ship there, so this gives a bit of information about which directions the turrets can fire and how powerful they are. So you can see there that we have very strong to the front and to the sides. So the Battlestar is pretty much all round. It's nothing at the back though. So it needs to make sure that it's facing forwards. It will be vulnerable from the rear. And it has some turrets facing up and down. So if you'll notice that the armor ratings for units are front, side, so left and right, rear, top and bottom. So some units, some of the ships have guns on the top, some on the bottom. So one of the tactics is either getting below or above to try and maximize your guns on target and minimize enemy guns on target. And getting used to which facing and how to use your units, as I was saying before, is one of the important parts of mastering the gameplay. If you jump now to the Manticore, we mentioned this one before, but you get a clearer idea of its fields of fire if we look at this on the turrets here. So you can see there that the Manticore only has front and rear facing turrets. To the sides it's got nothing. So the Manticore is very weak from the side, and you have to make sure it's facing towards or running away from whoever you want to target. And the Adamant is completely different again. The Adamant's your carrier class. We've got an Adamant, there we go.
There he is.
And he has powerful turrets to the side but nothing to the front. So each of the units has to be used in different ways.
Yeah, the Adamant has an incredible broadside. I guess we should also touch upon the fact that we can always focus fire using any of our ships on any of the enemy ships that we can see. In this case, I think I'm going to go ahead and focus fire on the guys that are hacking us and try to take out this Nemesis.
So yeah, focus fire increases the damage to the target you're focusing on, but reduces the damage to other targets. And so it's got a use, but you've got to make sure you use it at the right time. Anthony's suggesting that we bring the Vipers back for repair. So your damaged fighter squadron, recall them to the battle star.
Okay, cool. So let's go ahead and recall our Viper squadron here. Sorry, guys.
There we go.
I apologize for firing at you. We'll let your families know that you died bravely. It's fine. Trust me.
And the other thing Anthony's mentioning is that there are shortcut keys to all of these actions. So at the moment we're navigating everything with the mouse, but once you get more familiar, you can press hotkeys to jump between all these things. But we didn't want to do that initially on the stream because it can be a bit confusing to follow our key presses because you can't see what we're doing.
Absolutely.
And I think we have turned off the flak, haven't we?
Yes, we have.
Okay.
I think the Vipers are safe now. Now, one thing I'm going to do is just to sort of show people that you can use these Vipers to target other ships. I'm going to take this 40 Vipers, the ones that weren't destroyed by flak. We're going to select an enemy target. In this case, we're going to select one of the ships hacking me. So you can actually send your Vipers to attack enemy ships or enemy squadrons. So they might have a raider squadron, something like this, and you can try to engage them and destroy them. Let's go ahead and see how this goes. Hoping for the best here against these Cylons.
We're not playing particularly well here at the moment, so you probably spend a bit more time thinking about your turns and setting up and maneuvering. Because, for example, we've got I think it looks like an adamant that's just sailing off into nowhere right now.
Over here, exactly. We're kind of just trying to show the basics, and actually what I wanted to do is kind of bring the adamant to bear with its broadside. I think.
You did have a plan.
I had a slight plan, but I think it should be a bit closer either way. So what I'm going to do is I'm still going to continue with my sort of flanking arc here, but I'm going to get just a bit closer. So sort of maybe something like this, and I've increased my altitude to the max. And I think I'll continue forward. I want to make sure I'm not going to have any crashes here. So let's take a look at our ships. And at this point, let's see if we can go ahead and just fire every single missile we have. So as you can see here, guys, we have to reload these missiles. It would be wonderful if we could just fire them continually every single turn. This battle would be over in seconds, but we're going to have to wait just a little bit. Another thing to consider is the reparation or repairing subsystems. Now, we're not going to worry about that right this second, but if you take a look, for instance, at our Manticore class, we could start repairing these subsystems once the hacking does enough damage. And so any number of things could be damaged. Of course, the fire control, the engineering, the navigation, and we have to deal with that damage. For now, though, we're going to continue forward and see if we can't get a few more kills on these Cylons.
So ships are quite tough, so it takes a fair bit of damage to take one out. And actually, that's something we should have a look at. If you can mouse over one of the ships you're engaging,
sure.
We can start to look at how the damage is inflicted. So here, that's a good example. Here we have a Nemesis, so it's giving us information about how many hull points he has left, and I think they start with around 40. So he's taken 15 hull points in damage, and once he gets to 0, he will be destroyed. You can see underneath the numbers, beneath that, they're the armor values. And the armor values tick down. You can't do hull damage until you've punched through the armor. So what you can see, where it says a 0 on the rear, we've punched through his rear armor, and now we're doing hull damage. And so one of the key tactics to the gameplay is making sure that you're targeting the weakest armor of an enemy unit, and you're protecting the weakest armor of your units. So now this unit's armor on the rear is gone. Every shot we place on that rear angle will punch straight through into the hull and do systems damage inside. And so also once a ship is taking hull damage, it will actually, systems inside will start to be damaged and taken offline. So even though the ship may not be destroyed, it may be incapacitated, and it'll want to try and run away to repair its systems before it comes back to the fight, and you want to try and make sure you finish it off before it can do that.
Actually, it kind of looks like this particular Nemesis ship is making a massive mistake. Now, obviously, his rear armor is pretty destroyed, completely destroyed at 0. So now that he's trying to run away, we're going to be getting those shots directly at his rear, and we're going to destroy him very easily, essentially.
It's a tricky position, though. If your rear armor's damaged and you want to try and get out of the fight, the the only way you can get out is by showing your rear to someone. So you're kind of
true, and run a little
not
bit
a good
faster.
position to be in.
It certainly isn't. Well, let's see if our Vipers can take this guy out. I'm betting that they probably can here. He does have 25 hull, which it's not the highest hull rating you could have, but it's also not horrific. Let's see what happens.
Let's jump to our Adamant, the Anubis, as well, because that's taking damage now. So we're somebody's punched through the armor there, and we're now taking hull damage. And he's being hacked
horribly. Oh yes.
He is not in a good position there. So it might be worth trying to pull him out of the line.
Let's try. So we're going to go ahead and of course with the Adamant class, as Ian was mentioning earlier, it's a bigger ship. It's going to take us a little while longer than it would with, say, a Manticore to run away. But one thing I'm definitely going to do is I'm going to focus on these ships that are hacking the Adamant class right now and see if we can't stop that hacking procedure. I also think I want to raise my Artemis a bit higher because he's not exactly doing so well, and he's also getting hacked here. Let's see if we can start that broadside as well. And we could actually fire some guided missiles here, Ian. Why don't we go for it and try and fire right here at this Nemesis? Starting
what's the plan, Kevin? Is there a plan?
There is a method to the madness. So what I'm thinking here is, essentially, I want to, first of all, get rid of these ships hacking us. I'm going to be using the Adamant class to sort of get around the enemy and start flanking them. And I'm pretty sure that the Artemis, just by itself, is going to be able to win out on this. We also have some more guided missiles to fire. So I'm going to start firing those guided missiles specifically at the targets that are hacking us. So we'll fire at this Nemesis, of course. We'll take a shot over here at this other Nemesis, well, the same Nemesis once again, because I really want to get rid of this guy. And obviously, every second, as you mentioned, where a ship is being hacked, that ship is taking damage to its systems. So let's see if we can't destroy these hackers and focus on the enemy's fleet in general. And there we go, guys. That's one down.
Excellent. First blood.
First
blood was to the Cylons when we blew our own Vipers out the air, but we're not counting that.
No, don't. Let's not discuss that, Ian. I have no idea what you're talking about. I've never heard such a thing. As you can see, the enemies fired torpedoes at us. This looks like, and from what I understand, torpedoes, and I could be wrong on this, Anthony might actually correct me, torpedoes can't actually lock onto a target, is that correct? You could just fire them?
They are unguided, so they will just travel down that route and they won't twist to follow, whereas the guided missiles will track the target wherever it's going. And
I'm thinking these might miss us, although this could be a guided missile, believe it or not.
I think they're guided missiles because they seem to be turning,
Yeah.
The Cylons can fire larger barrages of missiles, so I think I've seen up to 10 missiles firing a single barrage. That can be quite nasty.
And now they're hacking our Adamant, my goodness. And by the way, Ian,
go to the Adamant and bring him up. Go to repair subsystems for him.
Sure. And this is a perfect way to show just how much damage hacking can do. I mean, look at this. My goodness.
Well, he's been shot up as well, so it's a mixture of hacking and actual damage. But yeah, you can see his navigation is completely offline. His fire control's offline. His hangar's offline. Armory and engineering. All we have left is the tech bay partially working. So it's a sitting duck.
Do Cylons take prisoners? Because this would be a good time to surrender, I think. So I guess we could start focusing maybe on the navigation, because obviously I guess our goal now would be to try to escape. Click here and...
take your pick. I'm not sure which is best there.
Yeah, it's going to take a while, I think.
Someone's asking in the stream about how you prevent missiles. There's a number of ways. There's fighters can be used to target incoming missiles. Flak can target incoming missiles. Even the guns will try and engage incoming missiles. So there's various defenses against them, but none of them are guaranteed. So it's the higher the volume of fire you put into them, the more chance you have of taking them out.
And I'm actually sending my Viper after some more of the enemies hacking us here. I think this Nemesis is about to go down, but we'll have to see how this works out. So hopefully my tactics played out here. Let's see.
Well, there's quite a few missiles hitting into your Manticore on its flank there.
We've got 2 explosions here, and they're not ours. We are taking him down little by little. I think this Nemesis is about to go. And as we can see here, it looks like that front armor on the Nemesis is down to 0. So as Ian mentioned before, every single shot we fire at this thing now is just pure damage.
So what we could do here is if you be a little bit careless with this one, maybe we could end up with a collision. See if we can fly straight into that Nemesis. Just to show,
oh, absolutely. Being careless, that's my specialty. Come on. So that's exactly what we're going to try to do. We're going to try to sort of kamikaze into this Nemesis. And hopefully we get a nice little kill here. So let's see. Oh, I think he's going to turn away, Ian. I think he's seen our plan. Our dastardly plan has been revealed, but he's going to go down anyway, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, he's pretty much dead, but your Manticore looks like he's taken an awful lot of damage on his right. Where's the hull? How many hull points we've got left on that?
33.
Oh, still a few, but his right armor's completely gone. So, if we're playing this well, then the first thing you'd want to do is try and turn a different facing towards. Turning that way, you could end up crashing, but that's a risk we're willing to take.
Actually, we could get a crash here. I think we can actually make it happen. As long as our Vipers don't kill this thing first, which they very well might. Vipers are very fond of shooting down Nemesis-class ships. Let's see what happens, guys. It's actually going to fire some missiles at us.
Yeah, the Vipers are coming back for another tap round on the Nemesis.
Clever girl. Oh boy! Oh wow! Okay, so this guy's actually doing quite well. I want to make
just
sure
about survived.
He's just about survived. I just want to make sure that the rest of our ships aren't crashing into each other. They're doing okay. We do have a few other enemy ships to deal with, but for now we'll focus here and see if we can't get the final kill. And here we go.
Oh yeah, good.
There
I managed to lose mission 2 yesterday because I accidentally turned. I had 4 ships. I turned 2 of them into each other. Ended up killing all 4 ships in one turn, which is rather embarrassing.
Well, there we go. I guess mission successful. Now this, of course, was one of the easier missions, but we managed to actually get a victory, Ian. Unbelievable.
I think we picked an enemy fleet that was substantially underpowered compared to us. So.
Absolute nonsense. It was the strongest fleet I've ever seen.
Well, we're just mastering Sun Tzu. You don't want a fair fight.
Exactly.
So before you go any further, this is the post-battle screen, and on the left-hand side we have each of the ships that was involved in the combat. So if you select one of the ships we were actually using, you can get some stats. It gives you stats on how accurate their guns were, how much damage they inflicted, how many missiles they launched, and how much damage they did. If they had fighters, how much damage those fighters inflicted. On the right-hand side, you've got information about your officer and how much experience he gained. So he's on the way to leveling up to the next level. And the coolest bit that we want to show you quickly is the replay. So the game looks good when you're actually watching in battle, but what we're going to do is do a replay and use the auto cam, and this is where the thing really comes to life. So now we're not controlling the camera now. This is the game automatically controlling the camera, picking what it thinks you want to look at, showing you the battle unfold.
And there we go, our beautiful Vipers that eventually are going to get shot up.
That's the enemy.
Oh, sorry, this is the enemy class. All right, fair enough. The Cylons.
Cylon Raiders coming in.
Oh my goodness, the hacking. And once again, guys, as Ian said, I'm not using my hands whatsoever. Oh,
I'm going to show your hands. No one believes you.
No, don't tell them about my extra set of hands, and nobody's supposed to know about that. All right, there we go. Beautiful.
If we're lucky, we'll even get some shots following in on the Vipers. Oh, there we go. So the Raider. So we've got a Raider coming in against the Adamant. One of the things we're working on at the moment is the ability to export these movies to a movie file, and hopefully tying it in so that you can directly upload it to YouTube. So you'll be able to output this broadcast, these videos here, directly to a YouTube feed, which would be very cool. It's not done yet, but we're working on that at the moment, and the team are hoping to have that done soon after release. Someone's asking about the autocam, and the autocam is being continually tweaked. So
yes.
If people have suggestions on what they'd like to see or how better ways of doing it, then feel free to post them, especially on the forum. That's a good place to give feedback.
And also,
and there's still So go on,
sorry, go ahead. I was going to say, there's also just the regular instant replay where, or the replay, I should say, where you can actually control the camera yourself. You can follow the ships however you'd like. The autocam is just one of the newer features where, you know, and personally I love the autocam. Just the way this looks, it almost feels like I'm watching the show, to be honest with you. It's just wonderful.
Oh, I always like following a Viper attack.
The Vipers are beautiful. They really are. They are beautiful. I think it's the Vipers won us this battle. That and the Armaragosa, which got 149 damage inflicted, and the accuracy rating was actually nearly 50%, which I would consider
that's pretty impressive.
Good. Yeah.
So the way that the guns work, there's different types of guns and they do different damage, but they have different types of accuracy as well. So some are high damage but low accuracy and better at bigger targets or smaller targets. But also the range is important. So the closer you are to a target, the more chance you have of hitting it. So he must have been engaging relatively easy to hit targets at relatively close range. Otherwise, he'd never have achieved a near 50% accuracy.
Absolutely. All right, we're going to proceed here, guys. So we did want to make sure, guys, that you all had an opportunity to ask your questions. Now, there are quite a lot of you. We do want to try and answer as many questions as possible. Ian, why don't we take a few of these questions and see if we can't have a crack at them?
Sure. So if anyone has any questions or anything they specifically like to see, please let us know, and we will try and show that to you now or answer your questions. Just reading the stream, see what we've got coming up. Some people loving the autocam. I do. I love the autocam. But yeah, there's some people saying that they're missing a zoom. So I think Anthony's already reading and responding to all that.
And I think if not for Anthony, now guys, Anthony's not actually, he's here with us, but not here with us. In other words, currently me and Ian are the only ones on video, but Anthony is doing an incredible job because without him, I think in terms of lore, me and Ian, we need to watch some more BSG for sure.
We're covering the globe at the moment because Kevin's broadcasting from Italy, I'm joining in from Edmonton in Canada, and Anthony is joining us from Australia. So I think we've got pretty much all parts of the world covered.
Just about.
So got a few questions coming in now. Price, we haven't announced the price yet, but that will be in the next week or two. What's this game about? Okay, I think. Well,
I mean, if we haven't made that clear, then we've thoroughly failed. Essentially, this is about. I mean, I think I can answer that on a much smaller level. This is about the first Cylon War. So, if you're familiar with the Battlestar Galactica series, this is the first Cylon War. This is one not covered yet by the actual series itself.
The game at the moment is designed. You play from the Colonial side. You cannot play a single-player campaign as the Cylons. That's something we could look at adding later if there's interest, but that's not currently planned. There is multiplayer, and in multiplayer you can play as the Cylons. And Anthony, I correct me if I'm wrong, but I think skirmish mode you can play as Cylons as well. So there is a skirmish mode where you can just set up any battle you like, and you can set massive fleet battles up in skirmish mode. Just jump straight into those. What's another question? As someone who loves a story, how much will the campaign focus on telling an overarching story? Yes, there is a strong storyline, and there's an awful lot of voice acting in there. So Anthony has worked hard on the script and with the voice actors, and the story is really good. So don't want to say too much about it, but there's a lot of good stuff in there. So definitely, if you're into the story, I think there'll be a lot that appeals. Someone just noticed that after the end of that turn in the campaign, Pycon has left the 12 colonies, which is definitely bad news. We will lose their revenue. If you pop the economy screen up, you can probably see that, Kevin, on the...
Sure.
Where are we?
Very, very unfortunate. So concerned, unstable, faltering.
We've only got 8 planets left out of the 12, looks like. So we've lost 4 already.
We're not very good Imperial Overlords. We need to go back to school for this one. And as you can see, Gamenon is quite unstable. That's where we just were. And of course, this could very quickly change into a serious situation where they just don't trust the quorum anymore.
That's a good point. So you can see there that the Daedalus is actually orbiting Gamenon at the moment. And where there's an officer or the Daedalus, there will be a boost in the morale of the planet. So one of the things you have to do is move your fleets around from planet to planet, basically playing the political game, boosting morale. So what we could do is we could send a fleet with an officer off to PyCon, and if we can keep it there long enough and fight off the Cylons for long enough, we can bring PyCon back into the quorum of the 12, or quorum of the 8 as we are at the moment.
Absolutely. Grab a few more questions here, guys.
Will there be more officers than just one? Yes, there are 3 officers available at this point in the campaign. I don't know the maximum number. Anthony, what's the maximum number of officers if there is one? I see we got 5 available at the moment. There's 1 active, I think, and 4 available to recruit.
Yep.
Seeing if Anthony can got an answer for that on the stream. Not yet. I think you guys are slightly behind us on the broadcast. It takes about 15 seconds for you to catch up.
Yeah,
there isn't a cap. So you have as many officers as you like and as many fleets as you like. What else have we got? Will you be able to jump out of battle that seems lost? No, I don't think so. I don't think you can jump out of battle. Not at the moment, anyway. Will we find out what caused the Cylons to rebel? That's definitely a question for Anthony.
Yes.
Anthony, will we find out what caused the Cylons to rebel? He'll be with us when he catches up with us on the stream.
Yes, we're running on a slight delay, but this is typical.
Are there going to be DLCs, more ships? We definitely would like to. We don't want to say too much about that right now, but yeah, we would really like to put out some DLCs because we've got a lot of good ideas for new ships and new features and things that we could add. So that's definitely a possibility. Could we see proper expansions if the game's successful? Absolutely. We would love to take this further. We think that the whole system's got a huge amount of potential, so we would like to be working on this for a long time to come. Are we able to rename ships? I'm not sure. Is there a way to rename ships?
Let's have a look.
Is there in the fleet management screen? Right, looking at some of Anthony's answers.
You can absolutely rename ships. In fact, I'm going to name this one.
There we go.
The Kevin, because it's just great. Here you go.
That just inspires fear in your enemy.
I hope so.
So Anthony has said that we won't find out about an initial rebellion in this campaign, but that doesn't mean we won't later. But you can make a bridge between the events in the Caprica series and where we start about 8 years after. So there's stuff going on, but we don't answer anything about why the rebellion started yet. But we can't. I don't want to say too much about the story. There are links and clues, so there's a lot to find out, but we're not going to tell you now.
I think we've given you guys enough information. In fact, we may have given you too much. Let's take 1 or 2 more questions here, guys. Something relating specifically to the game or the multiplayer aspect of it. Let's
How much replay value is there? The campaign's random every time, so there's a lot of replay value. It's similar in scale to an XCOM replay value because whilst there are chapters to the story that you have to progress through, you don't have to do them at a certain rate. You can go off and do as many of the side missions and build up your force as big as you'd like, push your force in a different direction, maybe one time focus on a fast set of manticores, or maybe late next time you want to build up lots of battle stars, play in a very different way. The text you decide to research will affect that. And also there's a certain amount of randomness in there as well, so that even if you did the same thing, the Cylons won't do the same thing every time, so you'll be forced to deal with a different threat. And so, yeah,
sorry, I saw this one, and this one was wonderful. Zilla here says, will you guys make a petition to make Battlestar Kevin canon? I completely support this. I think we should immediately focus on this. So just something to consider, you know?
Yeah, we'll put that with Universal tomorrow, honestly. How long will the war carry on? I don't think there's a fixed time limit, but the longer you go, the harder. Yeah. There's kind of a ticking bomb. The Cylons slowly get more stronger as you go through time. So if you're not progressing fast enough, you will fall behind, and eventually you'll just be overwhelmed.
And of course, if you're just ignoring your planets or just staying in one star system, all those other planets are going to essentially leave, and you're not going to have enough Tillium to really carry on much of a war anyway. So keep that in mind as well.
People are asking about special characters and heroes. There's quite a few callbacks to Caprica characters, Anthony is saying, but there aren't specific characters, I don't think, that we have. There are links to them, but without actually having characters from the series. What else have we got? Did you kill Admiral Adama in one of those Vipers?
I'm not answering that question.
We can neither confirm nor deny whether Admiral Hadamar was involved in an accident.
Look, he died bravely. That's what's important, okay? That's what's important. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for all these questions. Do we want to take any more, Ian, or do we want to let these wonderful people languish in waiting for the release?
What we can do is, we're running out of time to do any more questions today, but if we post the link to the Steam forum and our forum, we are more than happy to keep answering questions on the forums all the way up to and beyond release. The team are dedicated to supporting the game through the release and on to whatever comes next, DLCs, patches, that kind of thing. The other thing to mention is the game is releasing on the 31st of August. That's the PC version we're releasing on Steam and our site on the 31st of August. The boxed edition will be coming a few weeks later. You'll be able to upgrade from your digital version to a boxed edition at no extra cost, but doesn't cost you any more than buying the bits separately. So for an extra $15, you can get the full boxed version, but they won't be available for about 3 weeks after release. And in December, we will be releasing the console version. So Xbox One and PS4 will be coming before Christmas. Someone's asking about Mac version. No, we don't have any plans for a Mac version at this point. Sorry about that, but it's PC, Xbox One, PS4. They're the versions that we're working on at the moment. And yep, 31st of August. Make sure you keep checking back for news. Post any questions on the forums. More than happy to answer any of your questions, and looking forward to seeing some of you on the battlefield and in multiplayer.
Indeed, so say we all.
So say we all.
Cheers, guys.